Welcome to the Porsche Club Insider, your one stop for all things Porsche and PCA. Here's your host, Vu Nguyen, and the Insider crew.
Welcome, everyone, to episode 80. We are at PCA's national headquarters. At the table, I have Manny, Albin, Damon, Lowney, and of course, we have Robert Forsyth at the controls. And ladies and gentlemen, this is the last podcast before RR7.
No.
It's not?
No. we got a.
This will go out on Monday.
You mean recording?
Recording, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He's getting all technical on me.
I was going to say we record one more here, and then Robert packs everything up and we go out west.
All right, so before we get into our normal what we did last week, I thought let's give folks an update on what's or who is going to be at Rennsport Reunion 7 that they need to know.
Yeah, it's getting really exciting. We had our core team meeting, which give you an idea how big the staff is. The core team, you have the team leaders, and then you have a lot of staff underneath them. There were 61 people on the call yesterday.
Wow.
And I can tell you it's very intense now at PCA. We have our little world called Porsche Plots. So I would tell everyone, download that app. And I know when you look at it, maybe by the time you listen to this, it'll be more complete. But it's still a lot of missing pieces in it, and they're filling this in daily, sometimes even hourly, updating it. So I imagine by the time you come for a Rennsport, it will be, if not 100% complete, very close to complete. So you want to look at the Porsche plot schedule, and that can be done really easy by going to the map and clicking on Porsche plots, which is between 3 and 4. Right now, the map isn't the easiest thing to read. I'm hoping they improve that. But when you click on there, then it breaks into all the schedules for the Porsche plots, what's going on, and we have. We're going to have a lot of presentations going on, as well as that's where you're going to buy PCA merchandise. And I can tell you right now, what's going to sell out early is the grill badge.
The one and only.
Yes, for my understanding, this may be the only grill badge for the event. There's only 2,000 of them. It's going to be sold at the PCA merchandise booth, and it's going to go fast. I told Charlotte, I said, this is people like me will not just buy one. You always buy backup in case you need to trade for something. You always want to have one that's desirable to trade with. Plus, of course, apparel. They have limited apparel. It's not like a parade store would have. And, of course, we have juniors, and we have this great display right next to the Porsche plots, 75 years of Porsche. And I think Tom Pravasi has 60-some Porsches, all in unique colors, several in 5 buckets for the Renbo. So those of you that have been to the Renbo.org site, we have all the colors listed, and we have all the pictures from members that have contributed. 5 buckets is pretty rare. And he said there's several of 5 buckets. So we'll have to do a walkthrough video. I know we didn't talk about that yesterday, but sounds like there's some pretty cool colors. So it's not too bad for people like me or you who have a black or white car we wouldn't have made the cut.
Right.
So we have the speakers coming, and I'm hoping the listeners may contribute a little bit here. Here's your chance. So we have speakers coming to the tent, and we're trying to present some questions, have some questions ready for them. And we're going to be supplementing it with pictures and videos. Hopefully for the older drivers, it'll bring back some memories, and they'll tell us some interesting backstories of some of these cars and races. But on Thursday, we have Hurley Haywood and maybe Patrick Dempsey.
Oh, boy.
So Hurley Haywood by himself, I'm fine with.
Absolutely.
There's an hour is not enough time to cover all the stuff that he's done. But once again, if you have any questions you want to ask, car-related, put them in the comments in the YouTube channel. Then in the afternoon at 3 o'clock, we have Derek Bell and Nick Tandy.
Nice.
Now, they came last time, and it was a great comparison between the two, because you have one who raced in the 70s and 80s, and now somebody who's racing currently, both Le Mans winners, but with totally different machines and totally different time.
Totally different environment in which
they have great personalities. I love Nick. He's got a very outgoing, very laid-back personality. So on Friday, we have, I guess, the modern drivers. We have Dane Cameron, who I believe still is the only U.S. factory driver. for the 963. Saber Cook, somebody up and coming in the Carrera Cup Series. And Riley Dickinson, who I think is still leading the Carrera Cup Series. In the afternoon, we got a powerhouse. We have Jackie Hicks. Yes, him alone would be an hour. Brian Redmond, because I have a feeling when these two start talking, they're going to be comparing a lot of notes. And I've asked for Richard Atwood, who is
Richard Atwood.
I looked it up and I couldn't find anything where it said sir.
Really?
Yeah, so I got to get confirmation.
What about Mark Webber?
Let's see. So on Saturday, that was Friday in the afternoon. Saturday in the morning, we have Elliott Ford Robinson. I've never interviewed him. Alwyn Springer and Danny Sullivan.
Oh,
so that was in the era when Alwyn was, running racing in North America, and both these guys raced North America. So that should be a good
what a lineup! Oh,
good combination. Maybe we can see who they blame for blowing an engine. Alwyn or Alwyn blames them.
It's always the driver. It's always the driver.
And Saturday afternoon, we have another great combination. Norbert Singer.
Ooh.
I mean, Norbert has his own club.
Oh, gosh.
And Jochen Maas and Jim Busby. So you got the 956, 962 drivers with Norbert Singer, who was one of the fathers of that car. I think that's going to be a great session. And Sunday morning, we have Kevin Jeanette.
Nice.
Willie Clausen.
Oh, Willie's funny.
Yes, and Jackie Oliver.
Oh.
Jackie Oliver was the first driver to cross over, was it 155 miles an hour, which is 250 kilometers an hour? He set a lap record at Le Mans with the 956.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And then Sunday, we finish it up with the 962 to 963 drivers, Matthew Gemini. And Felipe Nasser.
So, nice.
And we can ask Mr. Gemini what it was like at Sebring this year when he had the little rough and tumble at the end. And if you remember, I think it was the Acura that they last few laps they banged doors.
Man, what a lineup!
So if you have any questions, you want to hear from these folks because we're going to be recording all of these and putting them on YouTube little by little. So even if you can't make Rennsport and you want to ask a question, we'll try to squeeze it in, and you may see an answer to your question.
Yeah, and the app that Manny was talking about, use that and take a look at things, sort of plot your strategy of where you're going to be for the day, because it's a lot of ground to cover. If you haven't been to Laguna and you have to come over these bridges a number of times, and, with the large crowd, things don't move as quickly as, say, a normal racer if you're there for a DE or something like that. So plan your schedule carefully, and we can't wait to see everyone in person. It's going to be so much fun.
And it's going to be hard, but if you're doing all 4 days or 3 days, try not to do it all at once.
Oh, yeah,
Think of it at Disney World or Disneyland. Do a couple lands first. Don't. But look at the schedule. See what you want to do. Key items, of course, are the tractor races. They're going to be up. No one's trying to schedule anything on top of the tractor races. Then we have the Concours on pit lane on Saturday, which is late afternoon. Then the concert on Saturday night. But whenever they have exhibition laps, especially the electric vehicles, we might be in for a surprise. And hopefully we get to see it. People have never seen a 919 run. Hopefully they see it run in the GT demo runs.
Yeah. And again, if you see something you like merchandise-wise, buy it. Don't say, I'll take a lap and I'll come back to it, because more than likely you'll take a lap and come back and it will not be available. So,
Although last time we got a pretty good deal on those 118 scale Porsche transporters.
We did. We
went back on Sunday around 4 o'clock.
But those were a big commitment.
They were pretty big.
They're large in price and large in scale. So
I think that we took them home, didn't we?
Yeah,
we didn't have them shipped or anything because we didn't
them,
have a pod back then.
No, we took them on the plane.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. So we'll talk a little bit more about Rennsport in a bit, but we'll go back to our regularly scheduled program as far as what we did last week. Open house. We were so lucky, and Damon, you were on an amazing trip, and we'll get to that in a bit. But the Monday before the open house, we were looking at a full day of rain on Saturday, but we kept the hope alive. And Friday night, it came down hard. I was like, oh, just get through. And by the time we all woke up on Saturday, ta-da! And we had the perfect window in terms of weather, because by the time the show was done, 2 o'clock, by the time we put everything away, literally as we shut the doors, it started to sprinkle. But we had a great turnout. Maybe you want to share with folks.
I think some people were afraid to drive their car on some of the wet roads. I drove a white car, so I knew driving down the interstate when it was getting wet, it is what it is. It's not a car show. If I wanted to, I could have wiped it down, but I didn't. But we had a great display of all 8 generations of the 911. Since 60 years of 911, we decided to take what we call our circle, which is actually a turnaround for tractor trailers, and turn it into a all 911 parking area. So it was pretty cool seeing all 911s, and I was able to make sure some of my friends were bringing certain 911s. Bob Miller brought his GT3 RS 4.0 997. Jim Earlbeck brought his Sport Classic with him, and we had all the way from Donna's 68 911 T Targa to the Sport Classic. It was pretty cool seeing the evolution, or somebody said they didn't really evolve that much, but they still looked barely the same. We had Mission Barbecue that catered, and once again, that was
Always a hit.
that was always a hit, exactly. It looks like your little Iron Man microphone and speaker setup
works great,
worked out pretty
doesn't it?
good. You give a much longer tour than I do.
I talk about the history. You talk about all the fun behind the scenes stuff.
I gave a private tour to some Cars and Coffee friends, and I said it's not going to be the Vu Gwyn tour, so we're not going to spend 30 minutes. I'll give you a quick and dirty.
What was really cool was seeing folks from a really long distance, seeing Eagle Gurney 500, a.k.a. Mike.
I think it's Gurney Eagle.
Gurney Eagle, yeah. He came up from Florida.
Yeah.
We had people from New York.
And he helped us out to clean up. And
Absolutely.
I told the girls, you know who that is? I said, as soon as I said the name, Gurney Eagle, like, that's him? I'm like, yeah.
That's
I guess,
him. It was
I
great
think
to
he came all the
see
way from Florida.
people in person. People, I think as far as Wisconsin came.
Yes, the gentleman who, and I'm sorry if I can't remember his name, who sent the Kringles.
The Kringles.
Yes,
Right.
he came up to me, and I'm like, holy cow.
That's so
And then when
cool.
you expect to see someone from Wisconsin, and he drove down.
Yeah.
That was, very
So
cool.
Friday night, after we left the office, I looked over at the hotel next door to us, and there was a good number of Porsches. I was like, oh, there are some people
Nice.
from a long ways away. So always great to see everyone. Thank you to the staff here at PCA headquarters. Without all of their preparations, none of this obviously would happen, but they do so with a smile, and man, we knocked it out. We've got this recipe kind of nailed down. It's also a great way to, Manny always kids me, it's like your parents are coming home and you clean up the house right before they get home. But we do kind of touch things up.
Or
and,
we put up walls to hide stuff.
yeah. And so I think we talked about in the last podcast that we bought some of the backdrop Porsche paint, and I had great hope to throw on some paint, and Manny doubted me that we'd get it done, but I did get it done, and I will have to say I finished around 11:30 on Friday. And so we got the Porsche paint, but we also mixed Club Blau for the lobby, and we had Irish blue, Irish green, Riviera blue, Speed yellow, and Ruby Star. And I'll actually do a little bit of somewhat of a review and share it with you, Damon, to put in e-break news. But as far as a PCA insider with regards to the Porsche paint, it's good paint. It doesn't smell. I think it's got some like carbon neutral, whatever. But as far as the colors, they're vibrant and they're beautiful. I will share with you that if you plan to choose a color, one of those 4 colors, Irish green and Riviera blue, I was painting over white. Irish green and Riviera blue, 2 coats, you're done, you're good to go. Speed yellow, 3 coats, and then one of our favorite colors, but took the most work, was Ruby Star. And Ruby Star absolutely needed 4 coats of paint.
Wow.
And again, this is over white, so it wasn't over any kind of crazy color. But man, once it's done, it's beautiful. The Ruby Star, and when we were doing the tours, I was making sure people didn't lean on those doors because there's a thick amount of paint. But we got it done, and actually it looks
So you got Club Blau done
first.
at the paint store, or
Yes, I did Club Blau. So I have a little bottle of Touch Up, one of the original touch ups of the 60th anniversary Club Coupe, and I took it up to Home Depot. And I usually use Behr Premium Plus. That's all I know, and it's usually really thick paint, so you don't have to. It has like primer built in. And the young lady smeared the Club Blau Touch Up paint on a little piece of paper. She put it in a scanner, scanned it. 10 minutes later, two cans.
Does it really make that sound?
In my head, it did. Anything that's fancy, I go, I made little sound effects. And she popped open the can. I'm like, man, it is like right on point. In fact, I took the Porsche design luggage trolley, which is also made to Club Blau, and you put it right next to our wall, and it just kind of disappears. It's pretty cool.
Wow.
So how much did the Porsche paint cost? We paid for it. We didn't get it
Yeah,
for free.
we paid for it. We bought it, and I think it was $70 or $75 a can. Behr Premium Plus.
A can is a gallon?
Yeah, a gallon. Behr Premium Plus is, I think it was like $40. So it's a little bit of a premium, but I don't know if you saw, those of you that are watching on YouTube, I didn't know this came with it. Maybe I should have read a little bit closer, but it comes with these anniversary keychains in the color that you purchase, which is pretty cool.
I'll give an insider tip here. If you're going to Rennsport, go to that display on your first day.
Oh, will they have it there?
Because there's some kind of giveaway.
Oh.
I don't want to steal their thunder, but
They're really cool.
every day go there and check it out. It's something, and have your phone with you.
I'm wondering if I'm the only person that's actually used the backdrop Porsche paint.
I have not seen
I
any
haven't seen any
pictures.
postings of people actually using it, and I'm glad I did because now I can say, you know,
We may have to
how-
put hashtag Behr Porsche.
Yeah,
'Cause it
yeah.
sounds-
The can's really cool. I don't know if that's a European can because it's not just a regular, round gallon.
It's actually, I think,
Looks like an oil can.
it looks easier to use than the round one because it didn't seem to be as spilling as much as the round. Or did you clean it up really well?
No. I made a mess. I made a mess. I'm not gonna lie, but it wasn't too bad. Yeah. All right, so let's talk about.
I told you, if you had anything left over, you could paint my car.
Well, that's what the keychains are for.
Paint my car Ruby Star.
Oh, here's what I wanted to ask people. So we did something fun. Thank you to Laura. She kind of put this together. We did a little caricature of the crew because I know a lot of you have been asking. A lot of you have been asking about decals. So my question to you is, would you like a caricature decal or would you just like a decal of Porsche Club Insider?
So, it's funny when I said,
Please, God, just say the regular decal.
I think the caricature is funny, and somehow it does kind of capture how we are.
It's kind of funny. So I looked at mine, I'm like, okay, but mine looks okay, and then I'm looking at my eyes more closely, and I'm like, one eye is like looking this way.
That's how it is in real life.
But I know. Actually, I know this. I have an astigmatism, and
I never noticed that.
yeah. Well, it's not quite like that. I think one is it's more pointed in than out, right? But thanks to my astigmatism,
I think the artist
real
did a
life.
great job.
Oh, he did. He did.
I think it's a she.
Or she.
I think
Okay.
yeah, I think it's a she that did it. I think captured and your bluish green eyes, Manny. That's
Yeah,
I like your blue streak of hair there.
and vote on who's is most true to life.
true to life. Yeah, yeah. Robert is probably the most true
Yeah,
to life.
Actually, Robert does.
It looks
look
so
like Robert.
good.
And then who does Rob look like? That's
Jay Leno with that chin. Yeah.
John Kerry
Oh yeah, I can see that. I can see that.
or Jay Leno. Yeah.
So Rob actually, his cheeks are not that slim right now because unfortunately he just got his wisdom teeth pulled.
Oh, yeah.
So he's got like chipmunk cheeks.
Oh,
right
is that
now.
what he had?
Yeah.
We
Chipmunk
were
cheeks.
teasing him because he was on a Zoom call yesterday with us, and I think he was half stoned a little bit.
Let's do an interview now. All right. So Manny, you had a couple of things here in Maryland since I was away.
Yeah, so I didn't have enough with the open house. So the next day we went to Chesapeake Region, held a Concord Prep seminar. And they're going to kill me. I forgot the detailing place up in Forest Hill, Maryland, that did it.
We'll put it in the notes.
Okay. But they had a beautiful, real 964 Turbo S Flakbow.
Flakbow,
Yeah.
which is
And so I learned something new. I know people probably may think that I know everything. I certainly don't. But and of course, I didn't take the picture of what I wanted to show. The exhaust in the rear. It had dual exhausts, and each and had 2 pipes on each side.
yeah.
Immediately, I thought, well, that's aftermarket. I've never seen that kind of exhaust 2 pipes. It must be like maybe Fab Speed or something like that. I actually looked down underneath, and I couldn't tell if it was. I didn't see any Fab Speed logo, so I'm like, oh, maybe not Fab Speed. Anyway, so I started looking on my phone at other Turbo S's, and that must be something characteristic of the
Dual
Turbo
exhaust?
S. Dual exhaust with twin pipes on each end.
So those that are not watching YouTube, Manny, Flakbow, what tell them what that
That means flat nose.
Flat nose.
So that's not a 993. That
No,
is
it's a 964.
964.
Turbo S.
Yep.
It has you can't tell from the pictures, but it has the ducts in the rear quarter panels, and it has the instead of like the regular G body slant nose, which had the pop-up headlights that were hidden. These have like 928 headlights that move forward when you turn them on.
So can you let's throw some history out. Slant nose 911s, were they a tribute to the
935.
935s? Okay.
That's basically the factory responding to customers' requests, and it was done through special wishes. I think special wishes back then. They didn't really have the name Porsche exclusive. It was a very expensive package. I'm thinking 30-some maybe.
Yeah.
To get that. So if you look at your VIN, I just had a member call up wanting to know whether the slant nose he was looking at was a real slant nose. He said, "Can you tell the VIN number?" And I said, "No." I said, "The VIN number is going to tell you if it's a coupe or a Targa or a Cabriolet, but it's not going to say if it's a slant nose because that was an option." In the U.S., it was 505. Outside the U.S., it was 506. So I told him, I said, look for the little decal. It's got to say all the options on side underneath the hood.
505.
Yeah. And, well, his was actually a Rest of World car, so I said it should say 506. Because there was a lot of copies made because it was so expensive to get from the factory. But this was, I think, even more rare was the 964 with the exposed headlights or 928 headlights.
I wonder if the flat nose or slant nose aero changes the driving dynamics of the car because you don't have sort of the tunnels creating sort of like, the stability.
I got one probably to 80 miles an hour on the interstate. I couldn't feel any difference.
Oh, okay.
But nothing. I mean, obviously they did it for aerodynamics on the on the track.
Yeah.
So it has to have some degree of
Smaller frontal area, so it has to have less drag, probably a couple
Less
miles
drag,
an
yeah.
hour.
This one here was really unique also because the tail is different than anything I've seen anything in any other.
It looks like a
911.
993 turbo tail.
It looks like to me like back in the 80s, DP was making 935s.
doesn't it?
Oh,
And it looked like
okay.
their extended tail they would put on there.
Yeah. Very cool.
But only
car.
10,000 miles on the car, and
Wow.
it was inside. It was getting a full detail job.
Local car to us?
Yes, our friend George.
Oh, okay. Very cool.
Yeah, beautiful car.
All right, then you also did you did a social. Man, you're man
I
about
know.
town.
So I sent Robert some pictures because we went to Ralph's Auto Service. Social was at a restaurant, but we whenever we go to this restaurant, Ralph's always has like a mini open house at his shop, and Chuck Goldsboro, the co-owner, was there, and they bring in their friend who has a brewery and a winery, and it was a good couple hours to hang out before we went to dinner. But it's a real 3.8 RSR.
Oh man, gorgeous.
That they're going to be, I guess, redoing.
And that would be
rebuilding.
fly yellow?
That's a good question.
It's pretty bright.
Yeah,
think
might
it's
be
fly
the
yellow.
picture. That's I think Bahama yellow.
Uh-huh.
That's 66. That was a manual.
A manual Cayenne.
In that color.
Mhm.
It was
In yellow, yeah.
Yeah, very cool. It was, but the RSR is something that you rarely ever get to see, and it's pretty much a pure race car. The interior is all stripped
Yeah.
out. It's you can
That's
see the
great.
filler inside the hood with the fuel cell center lock. Everyone was amazed how different the center lock looked on this race car than it does on the street cars.
The modern day center locks.
So
Yeah.
it's a very tiny lock compared to the big lock on the street cars. And I'm told that it spins in a different direction, I think. That's what I remember the motorsport guys were telling me, that because the street cars don't use motorsport parts. And they said it even spins in a different direction.
So both so when you're tightening them, they both spin the same, either forward or backwards, whatever it is.
I would
right?
guess so. Yeah.
That's how the Courage GT was. That's why you have the,
Well, I think the Courage GT, they were actually like left and right, weren't they marked?
yeah, they were left and right.
They're different colors,
Red and
I
blue.
think. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
red and blue.
Yeah, the ones you probably can't see, right?
Yeah. I needed to print it on there.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they some pretty cool cars on display there.
So let's see. I'll give a quick update. I did another 2,000-mile run back from Salt Lake City and picked up my daughter. She's finishing up her last semester at home, which is really cool.
Nice.
But more importantly, is I found a new place for you to try, Manny, on this road trip, and it's called Portillo's. And we were just south of Chicago. My daughter was adamant about going to Portillo's for a Chicago dog and a brat. And they have this shake called a cake shake. They literally take a chocolate cake and put it in the blender together with a chocolate shake. Blend it up.
Wow.
And you are sucking a chocolate cake and ice cream through a
I
straw.
was gonna say your solids and liquids all at once.
all at once.
When you got up to say exit the diabetes.
Yeah, right.
It was delicious. It was a bit much. She enjoyed it. We actually we were off of I-80 and
Onion rings look good.
yeah, onion rings look good. The French fries were good, and believe it or
Why don't
not,
you tell everyone what the Chicago dog is? Because it's very different than.
so first it's on a poppy seed bun, jumbo hot dog, tomatoes, onions.
don't they cut it in half?
This
thought
one
they
wasn't.
did.
No.
No.
Pickles on it, little hot peppers, and some I don't know. They have celery salt, which I don't even know what that is. But then they have some of this green jelly looking stuff. I don't even know. I mean,
You should become a food critic.
Right.
I was so hungry. We'd driven 10 hours.
Relish?
Maybe it is relish,
But
but
it's
it's
a healthy mold.
it probably was relish, but it was like
greener than normal
It's
relish.
greener than
Yeah, I know
normal.
what you mean.
It's like a bright green
Yeah.
relish.
That's a hot pepper in there.
Yeah. It's like a sweet pepper. It was delicious.
I remember discovering this when we had the parade in Chicago.
Oh,
And I think Welcome Party had that. I was
Okay.
like, what in the world is this?
yeah. I mean, it's a fancy
Yeah.
hot dog, but it was delicious. So, anyways, you've got to try Portillo's next time we're on the road. But yeah, we had 30 hours of driving, 2,000 miles. Came back in the Swiss Army knife of vehicles, the Chrysler Pacifica, and loaded up all of her
It's the
belongings.
official PCA rental van.
We
Yeah.
love it. We love it. And the key thing, PCA Insiders, if you want maximum storage, they make a Pacifica in hybrid version and non-hybrid. Manny, do you know what?
Non-hybrid has more room?
The non-hybrid has more room because it has stowaway seats.
Yeah.
So the seats
No
go,
batteries to worry
yeah,
about.
and you put them all into the ground. So the whole reason for this was to get her 82-pound lab pit back to Maryland, and success. So good run. But my adventure was not nearly as cool as your adventure, Damon.
Yeah, I had a pretty good adventure. So Panorama editor Rob Sass called me, over a month ago now, telling me how, unfortunately, he couldn't make a trip.
You like it how he throws out, I can't do this. You want to do it?
The fake sympathy there.
And
was it because of the wisdom teeth?
I don't think so. I don't know. I didn't ask, to be honest.
Then I would say, Rob, how many more wisdom teeth you got to go?
No, but and this is one of those things that was in Germany, and if you're watching YouTube, you're seeing some of the cars that I got to drive. But it was a Porsche Heritage experience. I was a second wave of, I believe, 3 waves of journalists to come through.
Lots of air-cooled cars I see.
Yeah, so it's supposed to be something like every generation of air-cooled 911. Experience 60 years of Porsche 911, Porsche's Heritage. Oddly enough, there was no 964. But there was every other,
really?
general. So 7 generations were represented.
The singer wipe out Germany? That they had?
Yeah, perhaps. I'm not quite sure. I never asked. I'm going to have to ask the press contact to see why that might have been. But basically, I had a driving partner from Motor Trend, Aaron Gold, and we drove 2 days to various cultural sites in Germany, UNESCO World Heritage sites, in southern Palatinate region of Germany, I think Rhineland-Palatinate, near France. So we started in Hornbach, stayed in a hotel in Hornbach called the Kloster Hornbach, an old monastery converted into a hotel over the years, and got to meet the owner who did all
The
that.
original owner.
Yeah, the original owner. Yeah.
Back up for 1 second.
Yeah.
Did you fly coach or did you fly business class?
Well, I wasn't going to talk about that because I'm really uncomfortable with how nice they treat you, and I feel bad
You
almost.
got to fly business before me.
That's what Porsche does,
Man.
apparently. I wasn't going to mention it.
I've heard that Porsche's policy is international, and I think something over 6 hours or something like that.
Yeah.
You can fly business class.
Man, I still have dreams of flying business class.
It's nice. It's weird. They give you a hot towel, and I know it's just. I couldn't say yes to the hot towel. I'm just like, no, I don't need a hot
you
towel.
didn't start
So-
like.
yeah. No, I had to keep my roots. You
No,
know.
good for you. Good for you.
But aside from that, we were in this hotel home base converted monastery. Beautiful,
that's not
beautiful
haunted.
location.
Oh, I would have lots of struggles right there.
Yeah, beautiful
So cool,
location.
but-
Bullet holes from World War II running up the side of the abbey. So it's just crazy, the history. When you are in an area like this, just to see it on the walls. So right now, if you're watching YouTube, it's an orange Carrera 4 996, and I'm following a Carrera T. We also had a 1971 911S Targa with a 2.2 liter motor, 180 horsepower. And I'll just go through the cars.
Were
that I
these all
drove.
museum cars?
These were all museum cars. And so that 2.2, I believe, had been restored by Porsche Classic restoration at some point. There was a Silver Rose Metallic
Oh, nice.
1983 Carrera Cabriolet, which I guess I didn't realize, but they came out with the cars a year early in Germany. So some of the model years are a little off.
Right.
The 83 Carrera Cabriolet, it was actually to turbo look, like yours, Vu, only earlier.
Yep.
It was Peter Schutz's car.
Oh,
so when
how cool.
that car was brand new, that's sort of the present that the Porsche factory
I
gave
think in
him.
Europe they even call the Turbo Looks Super Sport.
I didn't hear that. They called it turbo or press materials. Said
Really?
Is it
turbo
turbo
look.
look?
They use something with SS in the name?
Oh, Manny.
I didn't think they'd
whoops.
use that.
I've heard.
That's an American thing.
I've heard it referred to as Super Sport before.
Yeah,
For
I mean,
turbo.
it's
but
possible.
in the press release they or
It was
press
turbo look,
Turbo
yeah.
look. Cool.
Yeah, so I got to drive a car that Peter Schutz, Porsche's CEO in the 80s, drove. After that, we had and I think both of you might be a little envious, a 993 Turbo S.
Oh,
I got to drive. Unfortunately, we were in a tour group, so there's not a lot of room to, put the hammer
Right,
down
right.
for any long amount of time. And this was definitely the case when I was driving that, so I had little squirts of power.
Yeah.
But man, what a great car. We had a 911 50th anniversary edition, which you see if you're watching YouTube. In the next car in front on the video, we had a 996 Carrera 4 Cabriolet, and we had a 997.2 Targa 4S. And then to top it off, the Carrera T, the green one we saw
I have to
there.
ask you the 993 Turbo S. When I drove the 993 Turbo recently, I think I mentioned it like 6 times in the video of how far the shift travel is. Was it the same for Turbo S?
I didn't. It wasn't the shift travel that caught me out of sorts. It was the act of upshifting. Again, really weird, but the action was tough for me to get smooth. So that was my only issue.
You mean
with
because
shifter.
the
just
pedal
how
hinge?
the pedals and not the hinge. It was just how they actuated for gas versus clutch. Like I had no problems in the 2.2, but it was it was just tough to get shift super smooth. But didn't really notice quite how long it is. And 911S 2.2 has a long shifter.
Yeah.
And it's a dog leg, and first gear is like under your thigh.
Oh yeah.
It's way back there. People were trying to get into first gear and went into third.
When they were in
and
third.
then they would stall
Right.
on a hill. And so there was a little bit of fun with that. But yeah, the 993 Turbo S was great drive. It was super quick, 450 horsepower. Steel, compared to a modern GT3, to me, it feels basically as fast as that. It's for something built in 1998, all that torque, it just really quick car.
And you said there was a Carrera T?
Carrera T, that was my favorite because
I was gonna say, how did that feel?
I got to drive the quickest in that. That was I was 2 cars back from the lead. So lead car, a Cayenne Turbo with a Porsche employee, somebody in front of me or behind them, and then I was behind that car. And we were part of the quick group. So
Nice.
for about 20 minutes, we got to open it up a little bit. and on some pretty amazing roads.
What was it equipped with? What options?
No clue. I'm going to have to go look at that again. But Carrera T has the lightweight glass. It has the
If
manual
it had rear wheel
transmission.
steering on it?
I don't believe they have rear wheel steering.
I think it's an option.
Unless
isn't
there
it?
are options.
I think
No,
it
I'm
is.
going to have to go back and look. I'm still pulling things together. It was a lot in 2 days, 7 cars, and we stopped like 6 or 7 times.
Yeah.
So it was very packed. And we didn't get an options list actually. So with the cars, so it wasn't. I'll have to ask for the Monroney. So the cool part about this as well is it's basically the Napa of Germany. It's southern Germany, wine orchards everywhere. And so kind of think of the roads and a little bit slower paced. And surprisingly, most Porsche employees, I'm not even sure if any of them had ever been to that region of Germany before.
Oh, really?
So it was the first
that
time
remote?
for them. I mean, it's next to France. It's south, two and a half hours south of Stuttgart, or away from Stuttgart. I guess it's just an area that maybe it's a little more rural, no huge city around there,
Yeah.
but a lot of UNESCO World Heritage sites.
It's so cool to be overseas and be in areas where, the structures that you're seeing are so old. Like like things here in the States only go back so far, and then the infrastructure, the roads. Look how big a 911 is on those roads. I mean, it's a massive.
And we had much
size
smaller
car.
roads in certain areas.
Yeah.
Some 1 lanes that are actually 2 lanes.
Yeah.
No center divider.
Were people like pulling out their phones when they saw these cars coming to take pictures?
A little bit. People would notice, but it wasn't, super crazy that I noticed.
Yeah.
We had a couple people, I'm sure, there are villages everywhere. So you have a village of maybe 2,000 to 4,000 people, and then
Open space.
For like
then a
3 to 5
village, yeah.
miles, then a village, then open space, and it's just the whole way through. And so, early in the morning, I got a couple looks when I was doing a 1 mile review before we started our tours, but nobody seemed to be like ogling at us.
Yeah.
But maybe they see them.
If you were in an American muscle car,
American muscle,
because they see
probably.
Porsches.
But no, that's what I thought too. But when we went, I forget which time we went, but it really surprised me how many people on the highway would bring their phones out when they saw this caravan of cars coming. And
well, I think that was that. Are you talking about when we were doing the delivery of the anniversary car?
no, I think this was actually the
70.
70 maybe,
Yeah.
or some anniversary. But I think I was talking to someone from Austria, and they were saying that you don't see as many as you think you would see, and to them, and they're very proud of Porsche, but it's still a unique thing to see.
Yeah.
And they'll, he said that's probably why they were taking pictures of it.
Yeah, we passed by a car club actually on one of those village roads. It's basically, cars park. You have to stop and let people through or vice versa. And there was a car club going the other direction. And that was pretty cool. We all waved to each other. There were some Porsches mixed in with some other cars. One of the stops we made there was a Maybach club actually.
Oh,
They had
wow.
a bunch of Maybachs parked in the plaza. But yeah, this trip was basically 60 years of Porsche 911. Get to drive most of them and sort of draw conclusions about what changed over, that first generation to the current generation, but also exploring different cultural heritage sites in Germany. So Porsche did this in China 4 years ago, in Hawaii 2 years ago. So if you remember seeing content from China and Hawaii, and several generations of Porsches being driven, and you'd see it on several websites, Autoblog, I seem to remember. This is what that was, and they figured they'd bring it back to Germany because of 75 years of Porsche. What better way to celebrate it than in Germany?
Yeah. Nice.
So
speaking of rare sightings on the road, I had 30 hours to be on the highway and just notice things around. You know, it's a rare sighting to see a 2-door coupe now, especially on the route that I was taking. It's pretty rare. Like I think I saw one Cayman. I saw maybe 2 Corvette, but everything is SUVs and
I was
four
gonna
doors.
say,
Even sedans.
Seeing a sedan's going to be
sedan-
rare soon
sedan
because
is-
Ford doesn't make any sedans,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
They're all either crossover or
Yeah.
vans or pickup trucks.
It was very noticeable. It was very noticeable that not a lot of sporting stuff.
I mean,
out
I
there.
think Toyota and Honda, they still build sedans.
Yeah,
Yes,
Mazda.
Subaru.
Yeah.
But I think Chevy's starting to go that way too.
Yeah.
yeah, Chevy's going that way. Stellantis not quite yet. Although they're probably just letting all their old cars die off, like the 300C and whatnot.
Yeah. And I guess a shout out to all the truck drivers out on the 80. Like, man, there were a lot of trucks, and you think about how all the goods and services that we use, you know, probably 99% of it has to be moved by truck at some point. Yeah. And there was a lot of them out there, and they were all like very well behaved, so to speak, and all in line, and it was a nice drive.
I always say this is everyone should do cross country, because it'll tell you'll learn how big our country really is.
Yeah.
Because we always talk about our friends from Germany who don't realize how big the U.S. is, and they think. I've even gotten emails and calls from people who from overseas who think that Laguna Seca and where we're at in Maryland isn't too far.
Yeah, yeah. So like
are you driving or are you flying? I'm like, that's like a 3-day trip.
Going through Nebraska and Iowa, like I made it a point when the gas got down to half a tank or maybe a little bit past half a tank. Like I went ahead and made sure I filled up because I wasn't really sure. I'm sure I could have looked it up, but I was like, I don't want to take a chance of not being able to get to the next exit. I mean, there's some long, expansive, space between some of these stops. And, I used to work for a trucking, a nonprofit that dealt with trucking industry. And so like when they're going up hills and you can see how they slow down and some trucks have more power than the other, like I would slow down and let them come over and stuff, and just seems like, that's nice of you, Dad. I'm like, because I know the struggle is real for them. Like they're looking at that and they're making all sort of strategies of how do I keep my speed, and then the guy in front of them is too slow and they want to come over fast enough, and as soon as they pass that slow one, they get over. Like they know what they're doing, just like driving in. I think you probably experience this when you're driving in Europe. Like people know sort of the dance and the rules of the road way better than in the States. And you don't have truckers don't typically hang out in the left lane. Same thing in Germany, as like most drivers know that left lane is for passing. So, and it's nice when it's all choreographed. And
so on that, so I've had this idealized version of Germany's roads and the Autobahns and everything. And on the way from the airport over to the hotel, the day I got there, I saw people passing in the right lane. I saw some stuff that I would see in the U.S. It is not squeaky clean like you think it is.
No, and it's probably somebody that isn't.
I was going to say they're foreigners.
They're foreigners,
Not American necessarily.
Yeah, it's possible. I didn't even look at the license.
Especially if you're close to a airport.
Yeah,
right. It's people that might not understand the rules of the road.
They're much better than us.
Now you can pass on the right if traffic in the left happens to slow down. And
we got over to pass somebody else, and then they just wanted to pass first.
Oh,
and then,
yeah. Well, I mean,
it happens.
There's always one, but it's still overall.
Yeah, overall it's better, but it's not. Same driving in Germany, you don't be worried. Like go there and just follow the rules you should be following.
Their training is much more intense than it. Yeah. Here in the U.S., in Maryland, what do you got to do? You got to be able to back into a spot. And if you can back into a spot, which I know some people that's an issue.
Yeah.
But if you can back into a spot, you have your license.
Yeah.
Yeah. And for the most part, if you follow the rules here that you should be following, you'll be fine over there.
I was actually more intimidated to drive in London.
Oh yeah, me too.
And I was.
I don't think I could do that.
Huh?
The whole right hand.
So
that's too much for my brain.
Of course,
to remember.
I have a right hand drive car, so I wasn't worried about that.
But you're driving in.
But I'm
American
driving
roads.
Exactly. Yeah. So the thinking and looking in the right direction, like to me, that was more intimidating.
Driving the right hand drive car doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
It's remembering that I've got to be on the opposite side of the road. That would.
So I did that in London last year, and I had a stick shift.
Yeah.
So that was fun. I made an effort.
I would have to take some serious anti-anxiety drugs.
Yeah. Because, I did look in London once. I looked the wrong way at a roundabout, and that's not a good thing to do, a roundabout. But I was fine.
Yeah.
So.
All right. So let's take this moment and throw up the e-newsletters, Robert, and have everybody, if you're not subscribed to eBrake News or Mark Fresh News or Performance News, sign up today at pca.org. Of course, we're almost to 80,000 subscribers on YouTube. We're so close.
Yeah, we're very close. We don't get a plaque for 80 though.
I know, but we're gonna get there.
Like a Damon reminding you.
Well, I'll give you.
I'm reminding you all to subscribe because we want that plaque.
But we're getting there.
Yeah, we're getting there.
We're getting there, and thank you to everyone that comments and Of course, subscribing, helping us getting there closer.
I heard this spouse of a listener, a podcast listener at the open house. She says, I hear your voice every week in our kitchen. I looked at her, I'm like, what do you mean? And she goes, he listens to the podcast every Monday in the morning, and he has it on in the kitchen while we're making our lunches, and I get to hear your voice. Because he goes, so it's really strange to hear you talking right now.
Yeah.
I thought, that's...
Yeah, someone walked up to me and said, "You really do have a great voice." I'm like, "Are you saying that I have a face for radio?" And she's like, "What? No, that's not what I meant."
Yeah. I feel like my voice is a little less distinctive. Manny, I could recognize your voice anywhere.
Oh, absolutely.
Anywhere.
I
Absolutely.
can't hide it like this.
Yeah.
Nope.
All right, you dropped a video on a very sought-after car, and I know Mr. Gentili, our local here, has been looking for one of these too, and I think it was everything you thought it would be.
Yes, Cayman R. So, confession, I drove a Cayman R for a week in 2012 when they were new, so I had a press loaner at a publication I worked at in the past, so I knew what I was getting into, but I haven't driven one since, and I had never driven a PDK version. I also had the opportunity to drive other 2008, 2009, 10, 11, 997.2 PDKs versus this one, the Cayman R. And overall, Cayman R, it's a special car. It's not just the Cayman.
Yeah.
Like, even though the specs looks almost
What
just
is
like
on
a Cayman.
Yeah,
On paper, it doesn't do it justice. You have
Yeah.
to drive a Cayman R and the PDK. If you, for some reason, I love manuals, but if the Cayman R's PDK was noticeably better than the PDKs and the other 997s I've driven, and apparently the Cayman R PDKs are different programming, and all sorts of stuff.
Was this the original owner of this car?
Not the original owner. So this is an owner who I don't want to name because I know that he doesn't want his name associated with a ton of Porsches all in one spot, sort of thing.
Because this car originally came with the sport buckets.
So
you could option the comfort seats.
yes, since whoever bought this originally optioned for the comfort seats, I think the current owner likes it that way. He does drive it on track, but at the same time,
We were shocked what those seats went for.
Yeah,
Bring
the
a trailer.
sport buckets.
Paul Gentili sent us the link, and I
my
thought
God.
maybe
What I tell
5,000,
people,
6,000.
what I tell people is if you can order your car with sport buckets,
Do
and
it.
then if you don't like it, order it with sport buckets, take it out,
Yeah.
store it somewhere, and put the seats that you want in
exactly.
there.
I can
Because
understand why
to-
people would get comfort because.
Oh yeah, for honestly, for most
touring,
use,
yeah.
for most use, the standard seats are better because they're
Yeah,
just easier to get in and out of. But
Yeah.
those sport buckets are so special
Yeah.
that if you have an opportunity to buy them, just buy them and
Yeah.
just tuck them away.
At the time, this was pretty unique because it had the aluminum doors and aluminum hood.
Aluminum hood.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which was pretty. I remember that was
Yeah.
like wow. You
I
didn't
want
hear about
those.
that until cup cars were the only thing that were coming with that kind of setup.
Yeah.
So that was. Or now they're doing aluminum on a lot of cars. But back then that was a pretty big deal.
So let me ask you this one, Damon. How do I put this? That
Well-
is a bone stock
Yep.
Cayman R PDK.
Not bone stock, but performance-wise, sole exhaust.
Okay, yeah, pretty much stock.
Yeah, pretty much stock.
If it went and you were the driver, toe to toe at an autocross, do you think this bone stock Cayman R would be close to yours? Now you got some trick suspension
Compared to my car?
but do you think that PDK would be enough to make up that difference? I think you would be very. quick
I
in that
think
car.
I would probably. So I think I know power isn't everything, but balance is at autocross, and this car is even with. It has a lot more horsepower than my car, so yeah, I think it would be faster.
I think it would be
I
faster,
don't think
too.
it's the suspension's really good. Mine's probably a bit better for what I do with it, but
I think the power and the
power.
PDK on that car, you in
Yeah.
it, you'd be faster in it
I
than
think
you
so,
would be in your
yeah.
car. Yeah. Such a cool car. And I think it's been, I don't say it's been under the radar, but for a while,
Oh, yeah.
the Cayman R was kind of under the radar, especially a PDK one.
I would still
But-
argue 50 to 80, depending on condition. Again, if you're getting a $50,000 Cayman R, give it a really good look.
Yeah.
But 50 to 80 is not, that sounds about right for a car like that to me. Can I afford it? No, not right now. But it's not bad. And you
A
look
very
at a GT4,
unique car, limited edition.
I think they've only made 3 Rs. the original R,
Yeah.
the Cayman R, and then the reissued 911, 991, 911R. I don't think they've made any other Rs.
Yeah.
They had the race car GT3R, but for street cars, I think that's the only.
And you can tell after you release the video, there's a lot of
Cayman R lovers.
Cayman R lovers.
It's like a cult following almost, right?
Yeah, because hopefully good for them. Like they recognized how cool that car was early on, and they bought it, and they're never gonna let go of it.
Yeah. Oh, it's interesting, because what was it? Most or all were built at the Valmet factory in Finland. Cayman R was built in Stuttgart. The PDK transmission is different in the Cayman R from the Cayman S. You mentioned the aluminum body panels, the doors and the hood. It's just, you can't put a finger on it, but it's different. You drive a Cayman S and a Cayman R, you will feel the difference.
Yeah.
So in a very good
And
way.
they're getting tougher to find, especially in a manual.
Yeah, and
So-
these are the ones to get because I think they've been overlooked. Is exactly what I mentioned in the video. Is did Porsche give exactly what we wanted? No, they only gave us 10 more horsepower. But if you can overlook that, or you don't need 385 plus horsepower in a GT4, then get a Cayman R. Because I personally don't think a GT4. You buy a GT4 because it's got the Cayman R's mojo, but it has the engine that you really, really want.
What I always tell people is try not to focus so much on the paper, right, and on the numbers.
Drive
Look
it.
at the 88 Club Sport.
Yeah.
88 Club Sport was like, what, 10 horsepower? I think difference. It was a chip.
Yeah.
And so people dismissed it. And now that look how much those things are worth.
Yeah.
Focus on how much fun it is to drive. Some of my lowest horsepower cars, but they handle well, and how low you feel on the ground, and there's you definitely need to drive it to make the assessment of how fun the car is.
Agreed.
Hey, speaking of, we're looking on the table here. I want to give a shout out to Club Racing News. They've got the
Here's
new
yours.
Club Racing News is now called Club Racer magazine, and it focuses on all of the club racing.
I'll do my Vanna White here.
Yeah, we've got all the racers in there, as well as all the different manufacturers that make stuff for club racing. So
It's like a mini panorama.
exactly,
the way it
and
looks,
it's we've done a total redesign. So shout out to Rob and the folks who put up that together. It looks
Big
great.
thanks to Skip Carter. There he
Skip
is
Carter,
right here.
yep.
He held the helm as a volunteer for a long time, and he's still involved with the magazine. I think he's editor at large now. But they're stepping it up. And after reading that sports car magazine from SCCA is not going to be printed
Got mine in
anymore.
the mail the other day.
Oh
Yeah,
my goodness, that is like when you said that to me, I'm like, whoa.
Yeah,
that's-
I looked it up just to make sure it was correct information because
Yeah.
I thought, but it was a statement from Racer magazine that publishes sports car magazine for SCCA, and they're ceasing.
So to put this
after
into
40 some years of
Well,
No,
actually,
longer than that.
So it's been published since 1944, but so that's 80 years ish, right? 80 years for a sports car magazine, but Racer Media, who publishes Racer magazine, has been doing the editing and all that for 40 years.
I see.
So it's actually an 80-year-old magazine.
wow. It's
Sad.
It's sad,
Sure.
but yeah. Actually, what's not sad is we got something cool in the mail, and I want to thank Anthony here. Manny, you can hold up yours. So again, from time to time, we get treats from fans and listeners, and check this out. Will Anthony found these from a provider off of Etsy. These are business card holders, and of course, Manny gets a 914 because he's a 914 owner, and I got a 356 because someday I will be a 356 owner. So Will, thank you so much.
Yeah, very cool.
This is so cool, and it will sit right on my desk, and I'll put some business cards
I
in
liked
it.
in his email or a little letter that he put with it. I have a running 914.
Yeah.
That's why he didn't get you a 914.
Throw a little shade.
A little dig.
Yeah.
I know Manny has a running 914,
Yeah.
and Vu has a 356 as one of his dream cars. So
You do have an engine.
I do have an engine and a hood. Don't forget, I have a
So,
hood.
so Will is so thoughtful. He had to plan this out, I believe, because he was telling me about these and how the guy who makes them he doesn't just have like this 356 for sale and you can go online and buy the 356 or this 914. He makes them in batches. So, like, for example, and these are not facts, but let's say he does a run of 10 356s. You got to buy one of those 10. or they're
Oh, they're
gone,
done.
and then he moves on to the next car.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So Will planned for this, and is
awesome.
sounds like he wanted.
Thank you, Will.
Yeah,
Appreciate
thank
it.
you. It's nice
And I
surprise.
actually don't
Nice.
even have this 356 model, so
Yeah.
very cool. All right, let's get into some Porsche news, and the first item up is Hypercar World, isn't it?
Yes, and my laptop died because I had a meeting last night and I forgot to recharge it. But yeah, Yota is going to be adding a second 963 to their team for next year. Once again, I think this is great news. The more customer cars we get, Porsche gets, it's going to be like the 956, 962 era. They're going to learn a lot more, and the car's just going to be more and more competitive. So evidently, Yota thinks it's a worthwhile chassis if they're buying a second one.
There you go.
So I can confirm on iRacing they now have 963, and I can
really?
tell you that after my review of the hypercar, it is a good car. It handles well.
It handles
that what
well.
you
Take my word for
Were
it.
you guys driving that on simulator
Yeah,
yesterday?
yeah. So I got a 117.91, and I think Jim got a 117.4.
Oh, what track?
So it's on
Oh,
Laguna.
wow.
Laguna.
Laguna Seca, yeah.
What are the real ones doing, I wonder?
I think Jim was telling me a 114. I think I've got a 115 in me in there. So
Wow.
It's got to string a lap
You
together.
get that in 113, we'll call Roger Penske up.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's- yeah.
Dane Cameron had his chance.
Yeah.
Time to get someone else. Yeah.
All right, next news item up. We're still sticking with this turbo.
Turbo GT.
Turbo GT.
Yeah, it looks like
Taycan.
it's almost ready for reveal. I love these spy photos because I always tell people if you really want to see if they're working on something, just start looking at the spy photos because they always test at the Nürburgring, and it's hard for them to hide anything. And the spy photographers are always there. But this is going to be the tri-motor, so it's same thing as the Plaid, Tesla Plaid.
Yeah.
That's what they're going after. It's going to be over 1,000 horsepower.
That's insane.
I hope we get. I know I was on a press trip for the GTS Taycan. I would love to see what a tri-power one is. With this, obviously, it's very aggressive looking with the wing in the back and the arrow.
I would take one.
So it should be coming out, I think, early 2024.
Yeah.
The way you lined up the next line or news item, as cool as it is to hear about the Turbo GT and all this horsepower, but there is something possibly being recalled.
Yes. So if you, but it's Robert just said he doesn't have that news item, but that's fine. We can tell you it's a recall for possible battery leakage on the Audi and Taycan. So I'm sure if you're and here we go. It's up on the screen. Is something that if you haven't gotten contacted, you probably want to go online or contact your dealer.
Do you know the depth of the recall? Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, they said something like
66,676. So check because that's not a small number, but that's not a ton.
But your dealer should
unfortunately.
be
Your dealer should know,
be
yeah.
reaching out.
Yeah.
Do they say what's causing it?
I didn't see that when I was looking. Let's see here. At heart of the issue is a possible leak inside of the battery that could lead to an arcing and then thermal event.
Okay.
So a thermal event.
You know, I didn't put in here, and can you look it up? See the Carrera GT. Mm-hmm. There's a recall on the Carrera GTs. Now you figure, whoa, that's a long time ago that they built these cars.
1/3 of all April. No, this was April 10th though. Looks like
It was what happened recently because
489 Carrera GTs because of spherical joints in the suspension may fail.
Oh,
in
yeah.
April.
Yeah.
yeah. So anyways, they must not have them all updated or whatever because they asked us how many Carrera GTs are doing parade laps because they don't want people driving Carrera
Having
GTs
suspension
on
failure.
parade
that would be a
laps.
bad look,
Yeah.
wouldn't it?
So I don't think we had any for parade laps, or maybe just one or two. But they're telling people to tow their car if they want to show them off
Immediately.
to tow them. No, they can bring them to the track, but don't
Oh, I
drive
see
them.
what you're saying.
Yeah, they're pretty much telling them to park until they get them. Obviously, they don't want the bad PR of of an accident. But
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
hopefully that so that still hasn't been taken care of. And that was all the way back in April.
they just reached out to us last week asking us how many Carrera GTs were
Well,
doing parade
sometimes
laps.
they do all these recalls, but
Takes a while.
yeah, people don't necessarily
don't see the
they don't
mail
go
or something.
directly to their dealership or they don't check the mail or whatever. So it happens.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, here's something that I saw. I thought it was the scale of it, I couldn't understand. Oh, actually, we should talk about Toyota and Fuji first.
Yeah, so in WC had their race last weekend and Fuji, and Porsche probably did their best, and the comments from the drivers were incredibly positive that, the chassis finally, they're figuring it out.
Sorted.
They led the race for several hours. It was a 6-hour race against the mighty Toyotas and even the Ferraris.
Mm-hmm.
So they took the lead right from the beginning. I mean, they dove in and they qualified third, but they took the lead right from the beginning, and they held on to the lead for several hours. Then eventually, Toyota is kind of like Max Verstappen.
Yeah.
They caught up and
Swoops in. Yeah.
it was just a matter of time, I guess. But yes, because the 963s have not been going as well as the they have been in the IMSA series. So they don't have any wins yet.
Yeah.
But this podium's a very positive sign. And the comments from the drivers that this wasn't luck, this wasn't a refueling thing.
Yeah.
They were very competitive in qualifying and in the race with Toyota. So
Yeah, it's great to hear.
yeah, I think they got one more race after this.
Yeah, and to go to the story that you did a couple of weeks ago or a month ago about how it takes a while for them to get their momentum.
Actually, in
and traction.
this month's panel that people should be getting, it has in the cover photo is see Bogdan got a cover photo.
Nice.
Yeah, I think it was Bogdan. It had to be him. He was the only one taking pictures, I think, at the Rebs Institute.
Oh, okay.
So I actually have two stories in there. One of them is about how long the waiting game.
Yeah.
How long it takes to took Porsche in their prototypes to win Le Mans, and how long it took them to win their first race. So yeah, don't panic about the 963. It's not every car was an immediate hit out of the gate. It took sometimes. I think the GT1 is the one that took 700 and some days before they went on Le Mans.
Yeah.
So I was talking about this the last news item where I saw a photo and I couldn't understand the scale of it, and it was in Munich.
Everybody's saying the 911 is getting bigger. That's the next generation. Yeah, for those who are listening and watching YouTube, it's at the it's the Frankfurt Auto Show. It's the IAA show, but that's IAA. I think something.
But the
in
whole
German.
what it is instead of a normal canopy or tent or structure that you would have,
It is a 911. It is very cool looking.
it's so cool.
Yes.
Remember this meme?
Oh,
Talking about the big BMW M8s
yeah.
gulping down cars down the Mulsanne Straight. That's what that
But
reminds
not
me
only
of.
is it a 911, but I like how they did it sort of like the buck of the early 356s, right? It looks like a buck where you would form the bodies, and it's huge.
They were doing it obviously because 60 years of the 911.
Yeah.
But that's a very
Way
cool.
cool.
Very cool.
Yeah,
Display
where do you
they
think
had.
that display will go once it's taken
That's a
well,
good
down?
question.
back here at the office, right?
I
was
would
gonna say that
I
they-
would say yes. I would say yes. If
Frankfurt
it's-
Auto Show people, if you want to get rid of it, call Bugwin.
Yeah, exactly. We'll find a way to store it.
All right, let's see. We've got a quick events update. So volunteer registration, that's all filled up, and we will see all the volunteers at Rennsport. Thank you so much for raising your hand.
600 people are volunteering, and that's really incredible. When I told Porsche we would get 600 people, they were a little skeptical, but that's PCA. They're known for their volunteer corps. And so, in fact, we had a meeting yesterday with the team, and basically we have more volunteers right now than work, which is a good thing to have.
That's a good thing, because there'll be some dropouts,
Yeah.
And how about parade laps? Anything left? Or are we sold out?
Sunday is almost sold out, and Thursday is almost sold out. Friday and Saturday are sold out, and Sunday we've got about 20 tickets left.
Okay. All right. And then we have, we just opened up registration this week for Unstock. We will be at HRE's headquarters November 12th. So I think we've got a pretty good number of cars already registered to date.
Yeah, it's something where if you registered, you got a confirmation email that you did register. We send out acceptance emails after Rennsport. So give us a couple weeks after Rennsport to get a breather in, and we'll go through the car pool. We'll have more cars. I think Levi is going to email the people that did not submit photos, because we really need you to submit photos, because you may have a really cool car, but if I can't see it, pick it, we may overlook it.
Yeah.
And I hate to do that because, like I said, you may have a really cool car that we want to put in the forefront.
Yeah, we want to include everyone, but we need to understand what modifications are done to the car so we can properly place it on the property. So, All right, folks. Anything else before we sign off?
Just
Looking forward to seeing everyone, many of you at Rennsport, and those of you, again, that unfortunately aren't going to be able to join us at Rennsport. We're going to do our best through social media, digital media, and through video to capture as much as we can, and then we will continue to share that, for several weeks, if not months, after Rennsport.
and it's not too late to go to Rennsport.
No.
Just to putting it out there, because friends of ours, he approached me at the social and he said, we're thinking about going. Do you know where we can stay? And I'm like, absolutely not. But if you look, there's that many people coming, close to 100,000. There's going to be cancellations.
Yeah.
And he told me a day later that he found a place in Monterey.
There you go.
And the general tickets are still available. So him and his wife were going. They decided at the last minute, so you can still do it.
All right. So with that, thanks for listening. If you aren't currently a PCA member and own a Porsche, grab your VIN and head over to PCA.org and we'll get you set up. If you're looking for your Porsche, check out the test drive program. We'll give you access to a lot of resources and help you find your dream Porsche. Remember to follow our podcast Instagram page, behind the scenes photos and videos, Porsche Club Insider, all one word. Again, please give us a like, subscribe, comment. We love reading the comments. You can always send a email to podcast@pca.org if you like. Stay in touch with everything PCA. Remember to subscribe the newsletters that I mentioned earlier. Until next time, stay safe, and we'll catch you down the road.